The governing New Patriotic Party will on Sunday converge in conference to effect changes to its constitution. Among the proposed 38 amendments is the push for the party to hold Congress to elect a presidential candidate 2 years before the 2024 general elections. Proponents of the proposal says the move aims at providing the party time to deal with likely cracks, disaffection expected to emerge after the contest. But the Member of Parliament from Praeso in the Eastern Region, David Opokwansa, says the proposal will rather destroy the party ahead of the elections. He spoke earlier with my colleague Araba Kumson.
Various proposals that have come from several interest groups within the NPP is good for our party, it's good for the forward movement of the NPP. I strongly believe that electing a presidential candidate 2 clear years before an election, while the party is in power, is one that do not sound well, and that is not good for the NPP or any other political party whilst in power. Because if you elect a presidential candidate, the person enjoys some level of power. I mean, the attention gradually shifts towards the presidential candidate. The presidential candidate would have policies and programs that he would want to influence on the political party that is serving in power. That, for me, clearly contradicts with the mandate that the Ghanaian people have given to the presidential candidate. Resolving cracks should not take 2 years to do that. I mean, if somebody has issues, the person must be forthright with himself, and I appreciate that in political party organization, the aim is to win political power. So if you were to go for an election and you lose, I expect that the leader or the person who wins must be magnanimous enough to, as it were, bring the others on board. And if you also lost, you also must appreciate that the decision of the delegates is that the person who won must lead. And you have nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can.
Now, let's broaden the conversation and speak with Dr. Asa Asante, who is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. Also joining me for this conversation is Dr. Kobe Mensah, who is a political communication strategist, also with the University of Ghana Business School. I'm grateful, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Dr. Asa Asante. As the NPP deliberates over positioning the party properly for 2024, now, many analysts have expressed diverse opinions on what exactly the party should be focusing on. The party itself has 38 proposals it will be considering come Sunday. But before we tackle the specifics, generally, what should be the party's focus on Sunday? Hello, Dr. Asante. Kindly unmute for me.
Yeah, good afternoon, Aisha, and good afternoon to your viewers. I believe that the party has reflected upon what they want to do, and they've taken time to tease out very important things that affect the party fortunes. And I'm sure out of that exercise that they have spelled out that about 38 proposals they want to handle. I believe that all in all, it should be able to inure to the benefit of the party. It is important that if you go through any major election, there's a need for self-introspection. And once they do that and they believe that this is the way to go, why not? But what people like us also have to say is that you have to, whatever decision you want to make, you want to tie it to the needs of the people. That should be very paramount. You should be able to focus so much about what the people are saying. And now if you look at this country, people are talking about standard of living, hardships, and all that. The party must also, at the back of their minds, should be able that in spite of all that they want to do, must also listen to the voters, the people, and then see that they can meet them halfway. For me, you can change, rebrand the name, the party, make all the nice things. But if the whole idea does not contribute to helping the ordinary man to survive and live a meaningful life, I'm afraid, then you are going to have difficulties when it comes to elections. And I'm sure that they are not oblivious of this fact, and they work along these lines.
I'll put the same question to you, Dr. Kobe Mensah. What are your expectations as they meet this Sunday?
Hey, thank you, and afternoon to Dr. Sasante, my own good friend, and hello to everybody. Well,
Kobe.
as Asa has actually said, obviously parties actually take stock, of their own, internal organization, the dynamics, within the party political system, etc. And I think that one of the key things, perhaps the party should actually realize, is that it looks like Ghana is no longer going to be in a state of absolute power in one political party's hands. A clear example is what actually transpired in the last election, which the parliament, the power in parliament has actually been shared between the incumbent and the opposition party. So in that case, how do you then strategize going forward, making sure that there are quite a lot of changes that are actually happening within the party political system generally itself? And then, of course, within your own party, there's an increasing number of young people getting into the political system. There's an increasing awareness of voters about their needs, about their rights, and about the responsibilities of political parties. How do you factor that in your structure and make sure that the party is very responsive to these dynamics? I think these are some of the thoughts that should occupy them in whatever proposal they put together.
Dr. Asante, let me come back to you. And we know among the proposed amendments to the NPP Constitution is the election of flag bearer 2 years before the elections. And then there's also the bit about changing the party's name from New Patriotic Party to National Patriotic Party. Let's begin with electing a flag bearer 2 years before the elections. How does this come across to you?
When you look at their constitution, what they have is that when they are in opposition, then they elect their flag bearer 2 years before time. And I'm sure events of recent time have given them a clue as to what they can do to improve their political fortunes. Strictly speaking, when you are in power and you are going to elect your flag bearer just 1 year to elections, it becomes difficult for you to organize yourself. As Nkrumah put it succinctly, that organization decides everything. So you need to be able to have a strategy, and that strategy is born out of some of these issues, such as what? Who will lead the party? You organize yourself. Remember that election campaign is a difficult one, and then more difficult is the strategies that you map up in order to restore power or hold on to power. And these are all pointers that you need to get them right in order to get the basics right. So earlier election will help the party to be able to mend all the differences and be able to map up a strategy that they can, they can resonate with the people. The people will hold on to it, believe it, and then pursue them aggressively in order to win power. So I believe that the 2 year period is quite a good time for them to be able to all manner of things that will help them to be able to prosecute a very effective campaign and also win power. So for me, I believe it's a good thing that they are doing.
Now, the party itself explains that it will help them mend the cracks that may emerge after picking that flag bearer. Now, Dr. Kobe Mensah, in terms of vote-wise, or let me say the party's fortunes in the upcoming elections, how positive or otherwise will this decision affect the party?
Thank you. I think I would differ slightly from Asa's position. The reason being that if a political party, decides to go into leadership contest 2 years, especially party that is in power, suddenly you are going to create, parallel structures. And I agree with the first, I think the play that you did, there was a voice that you played that was talking about if you have any cracks, you should be able to amend it even within a short period of time. That's what an efficient party does. I have a position that our political parties are flawed in terms of their structure. Now, if you go elsewhere, the power does not reside in the hands of the flag bearer, but in the hands of the executives, as in the party chairman, the party, a general secretary. They run the political party. And so whether the party candidate is selected a week to election or 6 months to election or 2 years to election, the party is always prepared. Now, mind you, you have a president, and when you elect a flag bearer, there are people in administration who will be jostling for positions in the next election, in the next government, just in case they win. And so they're not going to pay 100% attention to the national duty. And so when you create that particular position, you have parallel structures that is going to actually affect your performance in government and affect your fortunes, because people will see through that you're not interested in governing, but you're interested in winning elections. So for me, the struggle for the political parties, especially with the NPP's position where they say, if you're in government, select your leader just about 11 months to elections. If you're in opposition, 2 years to election, tells you that you're struggling to find a very suitable structure. Why? Because the parties are wrongly set up. Leadership should not be in the hands of the flag bearer. It should be in the hands of the chair. And it doesn't matter when you select your candidate. You should be able to win elections if you're efficiently set up. So definitely it's not a good plan for them to think about selecting a leader 2 years before the elections. You're going to have a problem with a country thinking that you're only set up for elections to win.
Now, let's go to the bit about changing the party's name from the New Patriotic Party to the National Patriotic Party. Because changing a party's name, of course, is something that can be linked to its fortunes as well. Because you know what the importance that plays in branding. Now, Dr. Asah-Asante, you're changing the party's name from New Patriotic Party to National Patriotic Party. Has there ever been a need for this to happen?
Oh, I believe for that one, I don't support them at all. Because the name, the New Patriotic Party, resonates with the people, and it has done so for a very long time. Unless, of course, there is evidence to suggest otherwise. That will realize that if you go on this tangent, this is the benefit that we're going to be accrued from this. But far from it. The name New Patriotic Party, as I've already said, it's in tune with the things that they do and the people who support them. So I believe that what they need to do is to be able to work and deliver the public good, so that it become part of their records. Mind you, elections are nothing but what? A referendum of your work and then a contest of ideas. So it doesn't matter the name that you assume that much, but what you are able to leave as a legacy.
Okay.
And you'll be able to stand on it to campaign. For me, that is the key. Even though name counts, but especially when you are in government, the name has won you power and you are in office. So what else do you looking for? You now need to work to, let people believe in that they've given you power and you are exercising the power judiciously and you are also delivering the public good. Far anything short of this, I'm afraid, the people will not give you their mandate again. What they need to do is to concentrate on their programs, their manifesto promises and all that, and work to achieve that. By changing of the name and all that, I don't see any benefit. If there's going to be any benefit, it's going to be something little that is next to nothing.
I'm happy that Dr. Asah-Asante talked about manifestos, because that's where my next conversation is going to. But Dr. Kobi-Mensah, do you think differently? I mean, what would this mean for the NPP if it decides to actually change its name from New Patriotic Party to National Patriotic Party?
Yeah, I think I would actually go the tangent of Asah's position. I mean, name change, especially coming from marketing, coming from branding position, it's a very serious issue. I mean, in corporations, name change is as a result of maybe the brand or the company getting into trouble. Maybe people have dissenting the positions against the brand. The brand has failed to deliver. the brand name is no longer in consonance with people's aspirations. So many other reasons are attributed, to name change, or what we call rebranding, for example. Now, I haven't actually seen any document that actually suggests any of these that I've actually outlined, unless, of course, in the wisdom of those who are proposing it, they think that the party's name has actually assumed a very negative brand connotations as a result of the change. Otherwise, I think it's a very, expensive project to do. It would amount to nothing, like as I just said, unless, of course, they believe that the people of Ghana do not actually subscribe to the new patriotic party's, brand name, and does not resonate with what they think the aspirations are. That is when you think that you want to change. But without that, why do you change it? Especially the idea that it's going to cost you tradition, because you have a number of years of performance under your belt under that particular name. And then, of course, you're actually doing away with. Or it's going to cost you, money, of course. You're going to change your letterhead. So many other things going to change. So I don't think that they really need that. What they need is a very robust program to convince the Ghanaian people that they can deliver. That's what they need.
And to the conversation about manifestos, Dr. Asah-Asante just hit it there, that they should be considering and thinking about what should be going into their manifesto for the next elections, what would actually appeal to the people. I remember the last time we had a conversation on this, Dr. Kobi-Mensah, you suggested that people are beginning to lose trust for political parties because they make so many promises and do not fulfill them. So you suggested that they make realistic promises so that when they come into power, they'll be able to fulfill those promises. Is that one of the things you expect to happen this Sunday?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the last elections, for example, manifesto, especially with the NDC's People's Manifesto, brought the entire conversation on the manifesto very much at the center of the campaign. In the past, we say that, people don't really look at the manifestos, etc. But in the last election, you realize that the fight was actually on the manifestos. What the NPP was saying, what the NDC was bringing to the people, some innovative ideas, and so people were really keen on it. Now, setting that particular tone means that going forward, we're going to have a huge fight on the manifesto positions, especially when we had accusations and counter-accusations of people having copied or having plagiarized manifestos. So you realize that, yes, we need a very credible, very practical, a very deliverable manifestos going forward. And so that's what I expect the NPP, Congress to actually focus on. How do we make sure that we can have a manifesto of renewal, for example, manifesto that speaks specifically into people's needs, and that are realistic, because I think the disappointment, according to most Ghanaians, had been too many. And as a result, they would expect that, we get a manifesto that is achievable. So I think that's what they have to actually think about.
Dr. Asah-Asante, we've already mentioned the fact that, usually when parties meet to elect flag bearers and what have you, I don't know if they're going to be agreeing on doing that at this event, but we know there are cracks that will happen that the party needs to amend. We also know that beyond this conference, there are a number of issues the party needs to deal before 2024. What are your expectations in terms of the manifesto you talk about, in terms of the 38 amendments that the NPP itself has put on the table to consider?
I think that you can do all manner of amendments, but if the policy of the party, that is the manifesto, you are not able to put it into practice and let people have a feel of what you had on the paper when you were campaigning, I'm afraid it becomes nothing but a deception, and that you are going to have your fingers bent during election. The concentration must be on the manifesto. You deliver all that you have said. Where you cannot meet, then you explain, and then next time you take a cue from it and you see how you can, promise things of that nature. Quite apart from that, government must also be firm to take very bold decisions, and then also be a listening government. You need to listen to the people. because if you put more emphasis on your program without also bending a little backwards to the people to listen to feedback, I'm afraid you are not going to get your policies right. So all in all, I believe they have a very big tax. They will go along with their, amendments and proposal and whatnot. But the more important thing is that they focus on the manifesto, deliver, and we as a society must also play our role by holding them to account. There is a committee in Parliament called the Government Assurance Committee. We need to get closer to them to see what government promised, whether government has delivered through that DEX, so that we'll be able to enlighten our people with the conversation associated with this. After all, vigilance is the price of liberty. More often than not, we give people our vote and we don't ensure that what they tell us before getting power, they do exactly the same. Look at road construction throughout this country, and from 1992 up to date. People construct roads or government, and in no time we are fixing the same road that we have spent so much on. It's simply because we don't take them on. Going forward, I'm looking for a group that will be able to say, look, whatever you have said you do for this constituency or the other, you fail to do. And for that matter, don't come to us for to campaign for any vote. That is the way to go when we want to ensure a good measure for public resources and want to maintain good use of public money. Otherwise, politicians will come and go like birds, but they will leave us with nothing to be able to help us to live a meaningful life. After all, politics is to make society better. So if we cannot play our role to ensure that politicians will be able to deliver to make our society better, then we have failed as a human society, and democracy, we are likely to affect its endurance.
Dr. Kobi-Mensah, if it does happen that they agree to actually elect a flag bearer or a political presidential candidate, I beg your pardon, if they happen to agree on that, it means that very soon the NPP will be electing a presidential candidate to lead them into the 2024. What kind of a person do you suggest they elect to lead the party? We all know the president is not going anymore.
Yeah, I think that the country, if you listen to the tempo, or if you listen to the consensus of people, it's about someone they can believe in. It's about the believability. Now, the reason I'm saying that the believability is that almost all the time, political parties or politicians are known to be deceptive. It is something that people say, they promise, they don't deliver. Now, if we are actually going for the flag bearership race 2 years ahead of time, you want to have a candidate that the people can say, yes, they can trust in, they can believe in. Now, if you're not able to do that, then of course, you're going to have the consequences, because they have heard a lot of things. People have heard so many things. People have actually aspired, people have actually believed in what the parties have said, and yet they haven't actually delivered. So I think the one crucial attribute for a candidate that is possible to wrest the power would be a candidate that can be trusted, a candidate that can be believed in.
I'm grateful
but
for
I must say that,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Kobi-Mensah.
Yeah, I must say that the 2-year proposal, I think, is a wrong targeting of a reform, to be honest, because it would definitely bring issues to them. If they want to reform, they have to look at the party structures. Who should the power reside? Not necessarily 2 years down the line. It does not actually count whether you would win or not the elections.
I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen. Dr. Kobi-Mensah is a political communication strategist with the University of Ghana Business School. Dr. Asa Sante is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. I'm extremely grateful for your time, gentlemen.